Welcome to another bonus edition of Upon Further Review. And in this edition, we'll be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cleveland Browns. And this Week 6 matchup will be on October 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can catch that on your local CBS affiliate as these two AFC North rivals go at it. The Steelers are 3-2 and the Browns are 2-2 entering this game, as the Browns have already had their bye week, whereas the Steelers have not. These two teams faced off in Week 1, and the Steelers won that game by a field goal at the end with the score 30-27. The Steelers then went on to lose in Baltimore, but then they won in Week 3 on the road in Carolina. Then they went home in Week 4 and lost to the Buccaneers by a field goal, as the Bucs picked up their first win of the season. And then the Steelers went to Jacksonville, and they had to pull out a tough game as they won on the road by one possession, 8 points against the Jaguars. And now they are headed to Cleveland. And the Browns, they lost that game in Week 1 by a field goal to Pittsburgh, but then in Week 2, they bounced back at home as they beat the New Orleans Saints by 2 points. They then hosted the Ravens and they lost by 2 points. They had their bye week, and then in Week 5, last week, down by 25 points with the score 28-3 late in the first half. They scored a touchdown before halftime, and then they came all the way back as they completed the comeback in the second half as they scored a combined 26 unanswered points going back to that touchdown at the end of the first half to win by 1 point over Tennessee in Tennessee. And now they host the Steelers for the rematch from Week 1. And what a game this looks to be. The Steelers historically have owned the Browns over the last decade plus, ever since the Browns came back to the league, as they were gone from the league for a little bit there. But ever since they came back to the league, the Steelers have owned them, and the Steelers have won the last 4 games against Cleveland, including the one earlier this year. Kind of similar to the Patriots and the Bills somewhat, but whereas I think the Patriots will continue to dominate the Bills, this game here, though, I think the Browns, actually the Browns, that they turn things around against the Steelers here, and they actually get a win. And this is going to be a huge win for the Browns. This is the type of game, it's a big win for the franchise if they can pull this one out. As I've said, the Steelers have been giving them problems. They have been that team that they've had to overcome, that they've been there. They're like that monkey on their back, that chip on their shoulder. That's the Steelers that's weighing down the Browns. They've been being held down by the Steelers in their division. As the Steelers, during this last decade, they've won 2 Super Bowls. And so the Browns, if they want to win this division, if they want to make the playoffs, first they got to be able to beat the Steelers, and they got to be able to do it at home. If they can't do that, then they get swept by the Steelers in the season series here in 2014, and I do not think that will happen. But let's look inside the numbers. When we look inside the numbers for these two teams, when it comes to passing offense, the Steelers are 8th in the NFL in passing yards per game. The Browns are 15th. When we look at passing defense, the Steelers are number 12 in yards allowed through the air, and the Browns are 28th. So when it comes to passing the ball, the clear advantage goes to the Steelers without a doubt. Big Ben is definitely, the seasoned veteran. He's got the couple rings, and he's got the tools, the talents, and he's got the weapons, the targets. As Antonio Brown is one of the best receivers in the game, and the Browns are without their number 1 receiver, as he has not played all year due to suspension. But when we look inside the numbers and we look at the run, the Steelers are 7th in the NFL in rushing yards per game, and the Browns, surprisingly, are 4th. Even though Ben Tate had been injured, he came back last week. He had a big game, and they ended up winning that one as he rushed for 124 yards. And it was only the second time a Browns running back had 100 yards this season. Terrence West actually had 100 yards against the Steelers in Week 1. And West and Crowell have been doing an alright job running the ball in Tate's absence, and now with him back, they've got 3 capable running backs in their backfield that the Steelers are going to have to deal with. Of course, they have 2 capable backs in Bell and Blunt, who are also very talented. And let's look at the defense. The Steelers are 11th against the run, and the Browns are 29th. So the advantage there has got to go to the Steelers once again. And the Browns, they struggle to stop the run. And so Bell should have a big day, and if Blunt gets his carries, he should too. Of course, the Browns can run the ball as well, but they're going to be going up against a tougher defense. So on paper, the Steelers have a better passing attack and a better running attack, and they got better defense as well. And let's look at the points. And when it comes to points scored, the Steelers are 18th in the NFL in points scored, and the Browns are 11th. When it comes to points against, the Steelers are 14th, and the Browns are 24th. So they're pretty even when it comes to points. You know, the Steelers struggle to put up points, and they're middle of the road when it comes to stopping teams from scoring. The Browns are on the edge of being in the top 10 for points scored, but they do struggle. I mean struggle to stop teams from scoring. As we see so far this season, the least amount of points a team scored was 21 against them. So, I mean, they let up, 20, they let up 30, then 24. No, 23 was actually the least. So it was 30, 24, 23, and 28 points allowed in their 4 games, respectively. So they're going to have to contain the Steelers. Of course, they can put points on the board as they've scored 27, 26, 21, and 29. But I'd give the edge to the Browns when it comes to scoring because they have the edge, with putting points on the board. They're not as good at stopping teams from scoring, but how much better they are at scoring compared to the Steelers, I'll give them that edge. Especially they need the edge somewhere because the Steelers got the edge everywhere else, right? So I give the slight edge there, and that's pretty much where I can justify picking the Browns, is that they put up more points than the Steelers. And I also would have to say that the Browns, their defense could be deceptive in that they do let up lots of yards, they do let up lots of points, but the Browns defense comes up clutch. Like, they seem to kind of, not really be awake in the first half, but then in the second half, the Browns defense, they make the adjustments and they shut teams down in the second half. I mean, look at the way they shut down Tennessee in the second half. And even look at the way they were able to stop Drew Brees and the Saints at key moments, as they were able to win that game by 2 points. And even against Pittsburgh, they were down, and they came back in the second half. And that's really going to be the key, is that they have to keep it close going into halftime. If the Browns can keep this game close going into halftime, they are a second-half team, and they own the second half, in all their games this season. So as long as they can keep it close, they just can't let the Steelers get out to a big lead. And the Steelers are the type of team, sometimes they're slow to start, sometimes they start fast. They started fast against the Browns in Week 1. And I think that the Browns, after having seen that, they should be able to, get them to a slow start. If they can hold them off early on, then they'll be in this one. They go to the locker rooms, and if they're within, one possession, even within 10 points, the Browns should be able to pull it off in the second half. And hey, if they're up going into halftime, then they'll be really sitting pretty. Of course, the Steelers, the keys for them is they just got to keep running the ball and keep giving the ball to Bell, keep giving the ball to Blunt. If they can keep the ball on the ground, eat up the time of possession, keep the Browns' defense on the field, then they'll win this game. Of course, they are always a threat to score, is at any moment Big Ben can hit Antonio Brown and boom, they score no problem. And that's the thing with the Steelers. If they can just keep the game close at the end of the game, they're always going to be in it. So this game should be very exciting. This is a game that I'll tell you, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you'll be on the edge of your seat to watch this one. It looks like the Browns might finally beat them for the first time in 5 games, as they haven't beat them going all the way back to 2012. But yeah, this should be one to watch for sure. It always is a great game when these two teams face off, no matter the talent level or the record. And in this one, both teams are competitive and in the thick of things in their division. It's early in the season, I know, but the Browns are a team that is much more competitive this year than last year. And if they want to make the playoffs as a wild card and even potentially compete for the division, of course, they still got to deal with the Bengals and the Ravens. It's a tough division. But they got to win this game here against the Steelers. They can't afford to be swept by their division rival. And like I said, I think they can pull it out. It's going to be exciting. It'll be a close game. It's going to come down to the end, just like it did in the first time they met in Week 1. That's what I think. Let me know what you think by leaving a comment below. Share your thoughts. Very interested to hear all of your opinions. I hope you enjoy the show. If you did enjoy the show, make sure to hit the like button. And also, if you want more of this content, make sure to subscribe. We bring you recaps and upon further reviews for each and every single game in the NFL each and every single week. We're also covering the baseball playoffs and some college football as well. So thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. Hope you're enjoying your day and your weekend, and enjoy all the sports.